All right, our first Enterprise episode in a second, and so we can actually. I was going to open my Star Trek customizable card game, Enterprise To Boldly Go booster pack that I got when I was at Gen Con. We can see what's.
Okay.
We're going to see what's in there and see what kinds of things you could do with the Enterprise cards.
Yeah.
Is the cover to this booster pack is not very good. It is like a close-up. You can look if you want. It's called To Boldly Go, but it's a close-up of like Archer's face, and then like Hoshi is sort of like behind him on one side, and Trip is behind him on the other side. But they're both sort of like covered up by his head in weird ways. It looks a little bit like that. If you remember, like the Steve Carell Get Smart poster, where like his tie is like it
like
sort of looks like that.
Face.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It is kind of weirdly like it feels like it should be first indicating something that like you can only see half their face because they're covered up by Archer, but it's just Hoshi and Trip.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this is you can tell that this is later on in the run of the game because like they've somewhat improved the kind of UX, like the graphic, like it looks a little bit more updated, I would say.
Okay.
Not it's still obviously first edition and not second edition, but like looks a little bit more put together.
Okay.
So we got Grimp, which is he's a Ferengi, so must be from that one Ferengi episode that he's on that they do. Although wait a minute, interesting. Now I'm actually wondering. So it says To Bold to Go and it has Enterprise people on it, but this is clearly somebody from DS9. And in fact, I'm looking through the cards now, and there are other things from like Voyager and stuff. So I got to look up like what To Bold to Go is from because this is clearly because I can see.
I just had it up and then
I can see Chase Masterson in the background of this shot. So.
Okay, this doesn't really say much of anything about it, but yeah, it looks like just from like scanning through like the things that are in this, there's a bunch of other like it has Picard, it has Shinzon. There's a Shinzon card in there, apparently.
Well, they really were.
They're just like we do not have enough Enterprise things to fill out.
Yeah, they were really banking on Nemesis being a big deal, I feel like.
Sure.
Let's see. This set is known for, according to the Card Guide Wiki, introducing the replicate mechanic, a way of paying an additional cost for or replicate mechanic, a way to pay an additional cost for a card in order to be able to bring the card back to your hand instead of discarding it once it has taken effect. That's interesting. Yeah, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like they really have like a theme around it. I'm sure that they had one released at the time though. But yeah,
yeah, it might just be just a bunch of things.
Yeah,
that's
weird.
Okay.
But it's weird that it has the Enterprise people on it because I feel like that would not be selling it. Okay. So this is on the Star Trek the Continuing Committee, which is like one of the things that Decipher set up when they went out of business to like for people to continue. So it says,
okay,
get ready for the crew of the Enterprise. So I think it is sort of like a Tatooine. If you remember the Tatooine set from Star Wars, where it was like, all right, well. It's just from episode 1, but like there's maybe not enough episode 1 stuff that takes place here, so there'll also be
some other things that we wanted to, like ideas that we had that we wanted to make, but we're not making Death Star 2 sets anymore.
Correct. Yeah. So let's look at that. So we got Grimp, who is his type is pessimist, but he's a Ferengi. He's a waiter. It looks like he's a waiter at Quark's Bar. So he has a move called Order, which is discard 4 rules from your hand to score 5 points. I guess probably rules of acquisition.
Wow.
There's Dangerous Standoff, which is appears to. It looks like it's a dilemma, and it's a picture of like Janeway kind of staring down a Borg. So it says, unless you have diplomacy, leadership, and physics, or exobiology, medical, and cunning over 28, randomly select a personnel to be stopped, and if the opponent on your left commands Unicomplex and does not command that personnel, he or she may place that personnel there. Your opponent now. This game really seems like it went off the rails even more than the Star Wars one. I fell asleep reading that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is later on in the thing because I've played a game of this with just the base set, and it's relatively parsable. But it's like, in what context would you ever be able to use that card? Like, and want to, you know? All right,
when your opponent has somebody next to your Unimatrix, I think.
Yeah. Not Unimatrix, Unicomplex.
Of course.
So there's a Survey New World. This is a mission, I think. So it says, when you are about to fail a mission attempt at this mission, randomly select a personnel present and place that personnel on the bottom of his or her owner's deck. Okay. Latinum storage. So this is a picture of Quark like inside of like a big case full of latinum. I remember this episode from DS9. You can tell that it's a really bad picture quality. So you can tell that like they never had a good version of this to like pull the images from.
Okay.
What were you saying?
This isn't the one where. What's the one where like he like thinks he's getting a bunch of latinum, but then it turns out it's just gold? He's just like sitting there with these like bars of gold, being like, stupid, worthless gold.
Yeah, it is that one. It is that one. Yes.
Nice.
So it says to play this event, you must command 3 Bajoran or Ferengi personnel. Let's see. So during your discard excess card segment, you may keep 1 additional card in your hand for each different rule you command. So yeah, rules must be rules of acquisition.
Okay.
All right.
So it's one of those where like you have to have a deck just fully like built around.
Yeah. I would totally have a Ferengi deck. That sounds fun though.
Yeah. That could be fun.
Miss Sarda, who her type is not a legal expert, and she is a Dabo girl. It appears.
Okay.
Name a card type. Reveal a random card from an opponent's hand.
Have any of these been from Enterprise yet, or are they all?
No, I don't think
DS9?
so.
Okay.
Or Voyager, yeah. Name a card type. Reveal a random card from an opponent's hand. If it is the named card type, draw a card. You may only do this once per turn. Okay, doesn't seem that good. Jean Hajar. That's a Nova Squadron navigator. So this is from TNG.
Yeah.
So this is one of the liars from the Nova Squadron.
Yeah.
Cadet. While this person is facing a dilemma, she has attributes +1 and gains astrometrics, navigation, physics, security, and transporters. Oh wow, that seems good.
for someone that like is in the background of one episode.
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Frurul, who's another Ferengi, also appears to be from DS9, I would guess. Yeah, because this girl also has another waiter. I got 2 waiters in the same pack.
Nice.
When you play this personnel, if you have 2 different rules in your core, he has cost -1. Okay, here is an interrupt from Enterprise because it has the Beagle, who's it is Porthos, right? That's his name.
Okay, all right, yeah.
It's called That's the Last Time. To play this event, you must command 3, I think, Enterprise personnel. It looks like discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards, then to destroy this event. That does not seem very good. It looks like it has a 0 cost though. Okay. Here we go. Here's I think our next 2, it looks like, are Enterprise ones. So Elizabeth Cutler, the person who was going to be like a Phlox love interest until the actress died. The entomologist, you remember her? We've seen her in a couple episodes.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah, from like she was in like very early on in the show, right?
Yeah, she was going to be a bigger pring, and then unfortunately the actress died in like some weird freak medical thing. But she has biology and exobiology. While this personnel is attempting a planet mission, and the first mission you completed this game was a space mission, she gains exobiology and geology. Okay, great. And then look, I got my list. This has to be my. I guess this probably is my rare. I would guess. Maybe not, actually. No, because this is a common. Oh, my rare was Latinum storage. Weird.
Okay.
But I got T'Pol.
Oh, wow.
Steer Commander.
Okay. Nice.
she doesn't really do anything. She's got good stats, it looks like, and she has a lot of traits, but she doesn't have any like effects. Like her card doesn't have any like when you do this, then do this. Like she's just like she has astrometrics, diplomacy, officer, science, and then she's got like high integrity, cunning, and strength
or whatever.
Yeah. And then I got another Dabo girl. That's the last one in this set.
Oh wow. Okay.
Elura. So each player reveals the top card of his or her deck. The player who revealed the card with the highest cost may take that card into their hand. In the case of a tie, each tie player may take that card into their hand. You may do this only once per turn. So yeah, those are the Dabo girls. Like they have some sort of like chance mechanic where you're kind of like gambling on something to get an effect.
But then can potentially like help you out. Okay.
Well, I opened this because I thought it would be good for talk about Enterprise, but there was actually probably more Deep Space Nine cards in here than there were Enterprise cards. But all right, still kind of fun.
I guess they know their audience.
Yeah,
I'm sure that is I wonder if they. Sorry.
No. Okay. All right, we'll say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if they like pegged that was an overlap of like the kind of Star Trek fans that are going to get the Decipher CCG are also probably people who DS9 is their favorite of the shows.
Maybe. Just people who like minutia, you know.
Yeah.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Out of Contreks, the show where two guys who have seen part of Star Trek try to watch all of it in no particular order. I'm Ryan Howard.
And I'm Brady Jungle. Oh no, I have to edit that, don't I?
Yep. And this episode we're talking about is called E Squared. It is Enterprise Season 3, Episode 21. It is written by Michael Sussman and directed by Roxanne Dawson.
Yeah.
And the episode is called, the memory alpha synopsis is, an accident during an attempt to use a Xindi subspace corridor places the Enterprise in a bizarre confrontation, ... with itself. Now this is actually, we don't really I don't especially get to do a lot of actually out of Contreks episodes anymore, because I've seen most of them. And this one did have a previously on, and I watched the first 5 seconds of it, and I was like, no wait, I'll actually kind of experience this, as much out of context as I can, and so I skipped it. And I saw they very, very quickly are like, well, in some previous episode, I don't think it's in the previous episode necessarily, because this is not like a part 2, but they're like, well, it's really important that you know that in a previous episode, Jillian Blake took her top off. And then that point, it was about the time I picked the skip button, so I don't really know what else. At some point, it seemed like, and they referred to that in the episode that Tucker, that T'Pol and Tucker had sex.
Right.
I will say it really shows how far TV standards and Star Trek standards have come, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I actually think this is a positive thing. They're do you remember there's one episode we watched pretty early on of this show, of the original series, where they have to talk about somebody having sex, and it literally Bones says well, do you think they he actually says that
Sure.
and then I feel even when they talk about it in
Tucker
TNG,
does in this one though. That's the thing. It's Tucker is still and T'Pol is asking.
Yeah, but then she's yeah, you mean when we boned down? Yeah, basically, but even in TNG, I remember they're usually so oblique about that stuff. They're they talk they get a lot of fun out of talking to Jean Moran or whatever, but they won't actually say it, and then they kind of start they really start to say it in DS9, because that show is really horny,
right?
It's just even still they don't say we had sex, it's so there was something when she says that I was that's kind of refreshing that they can just say it because
Sure.
Who cares, come on,
yeah.
But
yeah,
anyway.
I mean, it is also, I feel kind of telling about Enterprise that they're encounter this kind of very sci-fi premise of just a time traveling version of ourselves, and what kind of paradoxes that may indicate, and pretty much everyone's concern is just well, who does that mean I had sex with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a previously on. I did watch it, and just like it all just kind of washed over me. Like this one is so like I feel like the kind of context for this has to be so like opaque to be like, which I think kind of the whole like Zindi arc. That's kind of the impression I get is just like there's so much like I don't know. I don't really know what's going on here. I kind of figured it out. I think, or I figured out like
yeah. I mean,
what matters in this episode by the end of the
Yeah.
episode, which is just like we have to get through this nebula so that we can like make peace with the Zindi, I think, or like meet the Zindi.
Yeah, I'll let you do the actual synopsis, but like my take on it was basically Archer has some sort of evidence of something. It seems like something related to like some members of the Zindi doing bad stuff that the other members of the Zindi don't like. And so he has to get to a certain spot to meet up with a Zindi ship, but then not all the other Zindis.
There's like some Zindi that do like want to talk to him.
Yeah. But then like there's bad Zindi who don't want to talk to him, who are patrolling the area of space he has to go through. And then that's when the kind of that's when like the sort of the impetus for the episode occurs is at that point.
Yeah. Because I think is like we have to get through this part of space, and like the Enterprise isn't fast enough to make it through, and like these other ships will attack him and destroy him.
Right.
But there's like basically a wormhole. They never call it a wormhole, but it's a wormhole that's like in the same part of space that they're just like, well, what if we take the wormhole? We can get there in time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you take us in, and we can talk about like the actual, the specifics. But that was my basic vibe there.
Okay, me too. I'm glad we. That was kind of the impression I was getting. Yeah, is that like we have to get past these like bad Zindi to get to like potentially like meet to like because the whole thing is like they have to succeed in this or else the Zindi will destroy Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's kind of what they're trying to do. They're trying to save Earth at the end of the day. But yeah, and so it starts out I guess with like the kind of like brief scene is like old T'Pol and like her son comes into her room and it's just like we have to find Archer. And you're like, yeah, we have to find Archer. And then but I'll deal with that later. So they're about to like go into the nebula and they're like, well, there's these ships patrolling it, and are they initially planning to go to the wormhole? I don't remember. They're about to go in, and then they're like, there's another ship showing up on our sensors, but it's like, it's a Federation ship. And they're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we don't have any other ships yet. And then this ship shows up, and it's the Enterprise.
So I should interrupt you. I don't know if you read anything about this episode. Did you read anything about like the production of it or anything like that?
No.
So interestingly, the premise of the episode that Sussman turned in was actually different, and I think it sounds interesting. Like I understand why they told him to change it, because I think we both agree that this episode I think could have been more interesting than it was. But the original premise of this was that the Columbia, which is the NX-2, which is what they mention in this, where they're like, "Oh, is it the Columbia?" and then Archer is like, "No, it's still under construction," or whatever. So it was that like basically that the Columbia was supposed to come help them, and then and they would have used like Zindi subspace vortex technology to get there in time, but like that would cause them to arrive in the expansion more than a century in the past, and then been marooned there. So basically, they would have encountered.
Oh, so it would have been
a similar thing, but like, it would have been a different. It would have been the descendants of
but they still would have gone through time.
Yeah. Yep. And then they told him to change it. And he actually didn't want to. It's funny because it seemed like he gave this like in an interview where it seemed like he was kind of sour that they had
like my idea was
they had changed it, because he was basically like, he was like a big Trekkie himself, and he was basically like, well, this is very similar to Children of Time, which is when an episode of DS9 where the crew of the Defiant discovers their own descendants, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, so that would have been kind of interesting too. I mean, that reminds me a little bit of. I mean, you do enough episodes of Star Trek, and you're going to get some stuff that is similar, because that kind of reminds me a little bit of Scorpion. From right, that's what it's called, right? Or what's the episode
Are you thinking
called?
of Equinox?
Equinox, yes. So it reminds me of Equinox from Scorpion. Is a different season finale of that show, but like,
Yeah.
it reminds me a little bit of Equinox from
where it's like there's another
Voyager.
ship kind of like us, but they're not doing as hot.
Yes, correct. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was like I thought that was interesting, and it was interesting, you know, as someone who like works on something where I have like, you know, NDAs or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I try to be like really as honest as I can be when I'm like, you know, giving interviews or talking about it on, you know, or whatever. But like, it's interesting to, but you know, there's always things that you can't talk about, you know, and so
Sure.
it was interesting to like see that it seemed like he was not like really sour about it, but just like at least kind of saying like, I didn't really want to do it like this, and it was interesting to like to see someone like sort of speak out about that in that way. I thought was kind of anyhow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of whatever I thought that was interesting, because it's like he even like calls out like the name of the ship that is the ship that they actually, you know, have.
That would have been the one in the.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Yeah.
But
yeah, so it is the Enterprise, and then their like captain and first officer come over and kind of explain through flashback like what happened, which is that like the Enterprise tried to go through this wormhole, but instead of just taking them to like the other side of space, it also sent them back in time. And then like for reasons it was only a one-way thing, so they couldn't go back through it. So they were like, but then this is another thing that like, because the first couple of flashbacks, it's like kind of in the middle of action where it's just the kind of how you sort of do like, you know, it's like the camera's weird and it's way overexposed, and like it's just kind of these flashes of just like, you know, the ship being under attack and like we have to fly into the wormhole, and then kind of there's just like quick flashes of it. But then they do like a full scene of dialogue between like Archer and T'Pol, kind of like figuring out what they have to do, but it's all still in that same like flashback type of filming. But they're just kind of standing there talking to each other with like no music or sound effects or anything, and they're just like, well, we can't like, you know, we can't cause a paradox because like we can't violate the Prime Directive by going to Earth, but we have to try to stop the Xindi from destroying Earth, and so we have to like go back to where we first went in and like try to meet ourselves and stuff. And they're like, come up with this whole plan, which is like we'll wait around and then like help the original Enterprise make it through this space to be able to stop the Earth from being destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I get it. I did think to myself, that's quite a lot of, like, that sucks. Like, that sucks, like, if you are, like, these people's kids, you know? And you've never been to Earth, and you're like, wait, so, like, my whole thing is just, like... It's just to, like, I will live and die on the ship. Like, that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah. Like we
it's
don't
very
like
grim,
our mission is
if you
just
think
that
about it.
like at some day 100 years in the future we're gonna help our grandparents.
Yeah, it's like if you're whatever Lorien, right? That's the name of because I think they say that it was based on like Lothlorien, but like if you're Lorien, like the
I
grand
kept thinking
or like
of
the
Larian, the game developers. But, yeah.
Well, I believe that they said. I think I was reading about this.
It
That
is
it's
Lorien.
based on like Lothlorien from.
Is it really
from
Okay.
Lord of the Rings? I mean, he has a very elf vibe. You know, he's
Sure.
He's kind of it reminds me of what's his face, the guy we always called Legolas from Picard.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy's name is, but yeah, the
Who could possibly know?
I don't care to find out, but anyway, yeah, it's one thing if you're him and you're like, okay, well, I have a purpose, but it's like, because they say like at one point, because like Archer meets his great granddaughter, right? And
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that sucks. Like, imagine that you're like,
Yeah, because like she presumably never met him even. I guess maybe.
well, no, but no, but it's like it's hard. It's fine. What I'm saying, what I'm imagining is like, imagine the someone who is like
the people like between them.
Archer's like great granddaughter or like granddaughter, where you're like, wait, so you just like, I literally exist to produce
To have a
descendants, yeah,
Yeah.
like, and I was like, that's horrible. Like that's horrible to think about, that like you have no real agency. Like you exist. I mean, we all exist sort of to propagate like the next, but it's like, it's like, I would not like it if I was like, well, what really is important is that like, you have to really make sure that like there's,
there's a next generation.
That there's
so
a
to
next,
speak,
yeah, and it's like, and like,
on this
and it's like, not only like you have to do that, but then it's like, you can't really leave the ship. You know what I mean? You're sort of like,
they don't have
whole
other
thing
things
is-
to do in the meantime.
right. Yeah, I don't know. Just something about that struck me as like very depressing. When I was watching it.
That's fair.
But anyway,
But so the captain of the ship is, they find out, like, is the son of T'Pol and Tucker, who are kind of going through this like little relationship drama of like they had sex, but then like T'Pol wants to move on and still doesn't like Tucker, and Tucker's like being kind of human and needy about it.
well, I think from what I can tell and what I kind of remember from like other episodes of the show that I've seen, I think that like part of this is, so I think that they had sex and I think T'Pol was like, well, this is just like, I'm just experimenting, like I'm having like a human phase or whatever, like in college, but I think that she's lying, and I think that what it is, like, something happened to her like in an episode where she like went through some sort of like radiation that caused her to like be more emotional, and
okay.
And so I think she actually is harboring feelings for him, but is like, I really don't want to be, because that means that like I am like less Vulcan or whatever. That's my my take on from what I recall of various things that have occurred.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then they kind of like meet some other people on the crew. There is, I think, like again, like one of those things that like I like it in this episode, but I feel like they should have run with even more, or like would be funny if they had, which is somebody makes a comment of just like most of the crew is actually descended from Phlox.
Yes. Who like now I will say, like, fair criticism of myself. I was watching this episode very late at night, and so I know that I did like probably doze a little bit watching it, but like Phlox is not in this episode very much, like, at all, is he? Like, right?
No, I think is just in the one scene where he basically just like kind of breaks HIPAA and tells everyone like, oh hey, like this guy is Trip's son.
Yeah,
which
then
like, has a weird little lore thing where they're like, well, like, humans and Vulcans have never been able to successfully reproduce before, but like past Phlox apparently figured out how.
Yes, which I was like, why? Like, what's
why would you introduce an extra complication to like?
Well, just like, what's the purpose of that?
Something that we're all going to think of immediately. Yeah.
Like, it's like you didn't need to. It's like you don't need to explain that. It's not like someone is like, well, it doesn't make sense. I've never understood why Spock could exist
Spock
or whatever.
Yeah,
where it's just like no one was wondering about that. Like,
yeah. Apparently, there's one more like deleted scene where Archer and Phlox kind of like talk about it for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, That was very strange, I thought.
Yeah. But yeah. Apparently Phlox really kind of got around after they decided to become a generation ship. So
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, it was one of those that like I think this was the first point where I was just like, this would have been really fun as like an episode of Lower Decks, right? Like it has the same energy, or like could have the same energy as like the whole crew is Harry Kim's.
Yeah, it should have
like
been
everybody
funny.
is
Like
descended
that's
from
the thing
Phlox.
is like it's they treat it like very seriously, and I'm like, you should.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing where it should be kind of fun, you know.
Yeah.
I had again, we don't have to talk about this too much, but like I will say my weird Star Trek dork wondering was like they make Blaylock, they really slather her in like old age makeup. She's like the last
Yeah.
person on this because how old the ship has been going for like 200 years almost, right? It went like 200 years in the past or
Yeah.
something like that. And
I think
so-
she's already like, I think they've like she's like 100, right? Already, like before, like at the start of the show.
well, that's what I was trying to figure out is because it says she was born in 2088, and then okay, so she is so she's probably about well, let's see,
2151 is when like
so she's
the
like
show
80 or something,
starts.
right?
Yeah.
So she's like
Yeah,
she's
like
like in her
70
70s or 80s. So, but I was like, okay, well then, how old is Spock on? How old is Spock on? Because basically we're saying that she's basically like she's like
Maybe
a little
300.
under 300 years old, and
yeah, I did have that. Like, how do Vulcans
and
age?
and I was
Okay.
like, because like how old is like Sarek in because she looks really old and like Spock, because Spock is because I was like, how old is Spock supposed to be on reunification, you know what I mean, like
Right.
I'm looking
Because then you run
Like, how
into
old
the
is
thing
he
where,
was
like,
young?
because Leonard Nimoy actually aged. But, well, when was...
Yeah.
Okay, when was Yesteryear? Because that, he's like... What do they say? He's like 9?
let's see, he was born in 2230, so he's only 50 when he is he's
like,
only 50
the
he's
original
only 50
series?
in Wrath of Khan. He's 50, or he's
Okay.
55 in Wrath of Khan, and then he he dies and he's 161, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but he
he-
has, like, visibly aged by that point. I get... Not that much, but...
Well, it's really hard
Yeah.
to figure out like how old he is in the MMR Alpha because he dies in a different time period that is like earlier
Sure.
than when he died before. Like so I guess this is maybe not the best, but but yeah. So he must be though. I would imagine in reunification he's probably about 150 would be my. That doesn't make any
Okay.
sense though. But like I was. So I guess if she's that old. Then maybe if like she's supposed to be like double Spock's
Yeah, they
age,
must age that
then I
much
guess that makes
more
sense.
in-
But then how old is Sarek when he dies? Though I don't know. It didn't make any. I was just like, I don't know that she should be that old because but I guess though because he dies when he's 200, so I guess it makes sense. I take it back. Because Sarek.
That, like,
'cause
another...
if-
Yeah.
But now I'm like, are Vulcans supposed to even live that long? Like, because it kind of seemed like he was. It wasn't like when he was 200, then like all of his Vulcan friends were like, "Oh man, he was so young." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Who knows?
It's not important.
Yeah, but yeah, it is one of those things where it's just like, how do Vulcans age?
Yeah.
Which I guess depends.
How is Vulcan
So-
formed?
How is Vulcan formed?
Yeah.
To do weigh and stain, mother.
Yeah. So anyway, we've like barely talked about what happens in this episode, so we should probably.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, we're getting full episodes out of these, which I think we were
Yes,
afraid we
yes.
wouldn't. So,
Yes.
but yes. So, yeah, and then there's a scene in like the mess hall where kind of everybody else on the crew is just trying to figure out like who they had kids with, and then it turns
Yeah.
out that like Malcolm died alone. Which is just,
Yeah, and he
he's just like,
is like,
yeah,
oh, maybe
no one
I should.
ever wanted to date Malcolm. And then they just kind of like leave, and he's just like, that's sad.
Well, doesn't he kind of like sees a woman who's like looking for a spot at like a lunch table, and he's like, oh, you can sit here, like, you know, he's sort of like, oh man, I gotta
but then I like thought that was gonna. I thought they were gonna do more with that. Like I thought that was gonna turn into like, and then he like used this to, like, decide to go for it and like built a relationship with this woman. But that's like
I kind of like it though. Like there's something,
and then that's it.
I actually kind of like that though. I sort of think that there's something kind of like. This is not to compare these two because like the movie I'm about to talk about is like much better than like this episode of Star Trek. But the thing I had done earlier in the day, the reason why I was watching the show so late, is that I had watched A Serious Man, which is a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
The last one I had not seen, and like that movie, spoiler I guess if you want to watch A Serious Man, but like that movie ends basically with like the implication that like several of the characters are like about like the characters are like the main character is like about to find out that he has cancer, you know, and then he's going to die, and then like that his son is about to be like killed in like a tornado, but like neither of those things actually occur in the episode itself. Like and like I there's something about the like, but it's like it feels very like there's a lot of doom. There's like this sort of like sense of like doom or like uncertainty where you're like, well, will they be able to get around this? Like, will they be able to change their fate, or are they just completely screwed? And I kind of like that's sort of the vibe I get off of the Malcolm thing of like him being like, well, I'm going to try to avert this. But like that doesn't mean that like I'm just going to immediately make progress. That's not how that works in real life. You know what I mean? Like, and so I sort of liked the idea of like, well, I have received some sort of like
Malcolm,
a warning about my future, but like that doesn't mean it's going to work out for me necessarily. But it might, you know. Like I kind of like that.
Yeah. But yeah, and so then kind of the conflict that arises is like, so Lorian, who is like the captain of the ship, who's Trip and T'Pol's son, is like, this is our plan. We're going to upgrade your engines so that you can just like outrun the other ships and like make it through this nebula in time. And then Archer goes to talk to like the old T'Pol, and she's like, that plan won't work because the ship won't be able to like withstand it or whatever. And you should do this other plan, which is like you should fly through the wormhole again, but like modify something in the ship so that you don't go back in time this time. And Archer and Lorian kind of get into this fight about it, where like Archer's like, we're doing T'Pol's plan, and Lorian's like, no, that's too much of a risk. I think we should do my plan instead. And so he decides to steal like some piece of the Enterprise's engine that like their ship needs to be able to do it. And he's like, well, if we steal their plasma injectors, then we'll just go ourselves, and we'll do my plan. So they do that, and then they kind of like are trying to get away, and then they like fight each other for a while, like they're shooting at each other, and then Archer just like uses the transporter to like beam out parts of their engine, because he's just like, I know where everything on the ship is, so we can just like take away your spark plugs.
Yeah,
or whatever.
that's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's like yeah. It's one of those things of just like, I don't think Star Trek's ever done that before with the transporters, which is fun.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you're like, well, like you don't like. It's a good justification for it too, where you're like, well, you don't want them to just be like,
we can
well,
just
of
always
course
do this. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I like the justification of it for like, well, it's my ship, so I know where it all is. Although I would have to imagine they probably made a few like They probably souped it up every now and then in the intervening 300 years, but or 200 years.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the kind of thing where it's like, we talked a couple episodes about like the cleverness of finding the solution,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, I one could quibble with that, but like I think it's a fun idea, and I'm always going to appreciate that more than
than just we polarized the rotational fields and
right, yeah,
and that stopped them.
Exactly. So yeah, I was like, I'm not going to complain about it. Like
I think it's fun. He came up with something.
Yep.
Yeah, and so they and there's a point where like Larian, I keep calling him Lorian is like, they're like, oh, he's got one photon torpedo left, and he could shoot at the Enterprise, and he's like trying to decide if he should or not, and then he doesn't, and kind of gives himself up. And then Archer's talking to him in the brig, and he's like, well, I feel guilty because I could have stopped, I could have destroyed the Xindi probe that attacked Earth, I guess. And then, but I didn't because I would have had to sort of ram it with the Enterprise and kill everybody on my ship, and I couldn't sacrifice my own ship. So, but now I feel guilty about that. So my only kind of life's work is to stop the Xindi and save Earth. And it's this is my mission. And so Archer lets him out of the bridge and is just we have to work together. And so they fix up the ship and they're going to go fly into the wormhole, but they're getting attacked by the other the bad guys. And so the other Enterprise basically kind of sacrifices themselves and is just we'll fight them off, you go through the wormhole and save the world. And so then they go through the wormhole and they're kind of waiting for a while on the other end, being maybe they'll come through. And then they're also well, maybe we also created a time paradox, so they never existed at all, or maybe they died, or maybe they are gonna be okay. And then they're someone's coming, but then it turns out it's just the good Xindi that they're supposed to meet with, and then that's kind of how it ends.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna go meet with them now. So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna now contradict something I just was kind of talking about with Serious Man, where I was like, this is a weird way for this episode to end, because I don't need there to be total closure, but it's closure almost to a degree where I'm I don't even really know what you want me to feel. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Where I where I was I don't.
There's another Enterprise still out there.
Yeah, but I'm I don't know. It felt very because they don't they don't really make that much of a deal of it. It's they're not oh, maybe they're just kind of yeah, maybe it's there, and then the episode just kind of stops, and
then it's over.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's how
you could do something to kind of
But
the other thing that I feel would have worked in a Lower Decks episode that I really wanted to happen at one point was, I think when they steal the plasma injectors and the other Enterprise is flying away, I'm I feel what I want to happen now is then that Enterprise flies into the wormhole, and then a third one of all of their grandchildren shows up and is just no, you have to stop them, and just kind of double play it up more. I'm that would
it's your grandkids, Archer. You gotta do something about your grandkids.
Yeah, and then there's another one. They just kind of then you just kind of keep having more and more Enterprises pop up as they keep going through the wormhole.
Yeah, I'm into that.
And
I'm into that, certainly.
Yeah, and then somebody being oh, I'm actually the child of Karen Archer and Lorian. Oh, I'm the child, and then they end up kind of all coming back around to just all being flocks somehow, or I don't know. Yeah. I feel there's fun.
Yeah,
there's fun jokes. It would have been a good comedy episode, I think, and really wasn't.
I think that I just wish they had done a little bit more with it, I think, was my main complaint about it.
Isn't that kind of always the thing with Enterprise, though, where it's just
yes,
you could have had something here. I would have been on board if you had.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think about this, but there was that episode of or we talked about it before, like that John Billingsley has been like, well, yeah, I've been trying to like tell them, like, you should have me come back,
Yeah, for Strange
because
New
you don't know
Worlds.
how old these guys live, but like, he's not alive. He's not
Yeah, I guess
alive
that's a good point.
in this one. So it's somewhere south of whatever 200 or however old he is plus 200.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I am kind of glad that you didn't like it very much, because I was sort of a little bit fearful that I was like being
Just being
uncharitable to it, but it seems like you had kind of
it's
a
one.
similar.
It's I think it was one of those where I'm just like this really could have been more than it was, and like
Yeah.
it was in some ways something, but yeah, I wished it was more.
Yeah.
Also, apparently, according to Memory Alpha, the vest worn by Lorian is Jake Sisko's vest.
Oh. Okay.
It says it's a reuse of the same vest often worn by Jake in the final seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Which
Uh,
I'm not sure why they kept like this specific vest for like 20 years or something, but I guess just 10 years.
no, 20 years, like 10 years probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that they just. I mean, that's why they always talk about that stuff in the episodes, that like this was
Right,
like
that was sold off in the It's a Wrap sale.
It's a wrap sale. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know.
I guess no one wanted to buy Jake's vest, and so they just...
Yeah. But anyway, well, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this one?
No, I really don't.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We come out every other week. We're actually talking about another Enterprise episode in a couple weeks, I believe. We're talking about the previously discussed, but not actually done, Cold Front episode. This is so I think we're going to try again. We wanted to do it with Big Money Movie Ideas team, and we weren't able to do it last time just because we weren't able to. There was just some scheduling issues, but we're going to try to do it this time. So that is Enterprise Season 2, Episode 15. In the meantime, you can check us out on Blue Sky at Contreks. You can email us at outofcontreks at gmail.com. You can visit our website at outofcontreks.podbean.com. Or you can follow us on YouTube at Out of Contreks. Contreks is spelled Contreks. You can also check out the other shows on the Kaleidoscope Media Podcast Network. There's Here's Johnny, which is a horror media podcast. And That's How Science Works, which is a science and pop culture podcast. So you can check any of those folks out. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.